Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to MYCOM OSI's GenAI webinar, and thank you for joining us. So today we're joined by some special guests. We have Justin Vanderlat from Analysys Mason. We have my colleagues Keenan Jara and Sami Poggi from MYCOM OSI, and we have Vijay Vegalan from AWS, and they'll be talking you through the points up on the agenda. Before we get going, on the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a chat bar. If anything they say prompts any kind of question mark bubble above your head, type a question in there, and we'll get around to answering it towards the end of the webinar. There should also be visible a tab that says Handouts. On there right now, if you want to download it, you can download the slide deck of the webinar, as well as MYCOM OSI's GenAie application brief. And that'll be there throughout the next 45 minutes to an hour. So, without much further ado, over to Justin from Analysys Mason.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon to those who are joining us, and welcome to this webinar. So I've got a few slides here at the front end of the webinar just to look at GenAI, and we did a forecast this year looking at GenAI related spend on a worldwide basis. And really, we sort of see the rollout of GenAI, and by the way, these are just for the telecoms market space, as being sort of a two-peak issue. Essentially, there's some generic capabilities within GenAI, which is being utilized fairly early on, and later on, there's some embedded versions of AI being used alongside applications. So firstly, the general sort of AI model capabilities, which are being used today, tend to be based around things like natural language processing. So this enables to get an understanding of what a request is or a question coming in, and being able to classify that and potentially answer it with an answer in terms of output, or indeed it may even ask for further clarification of that question to further refine and better classify what the issue is. And of course, it can take that from a textual base, a voice based, and even actually from video or image-based information associated with that. So very useful front-ending what goes on. The sort of second major area in terms of generic capabilities within GenAI is the ability to summarize text and data. So produce a sort of an understanding or a reduced a set of text which summarizes essentially a long report, or indeed the salient issues associated with a report when you're trying to do that. And this is very useful for things like knowledge management and summarization of things like call records, which have been done with customer services, for example. Of course, the input that GenAI can take can actually enable a front end to be developed for things like applications and processes today. So where you're trying to, and we'll come on to a little bit in this terms of the story which MYCOM got to explain, it essentially take a complicated issue and have a front end be developed essentially with that application to go and generate a complex query or an understanding of how to interface to that, enabling a wider selection of engineers, or beyond the engineers, potentially to access to data or to analysis associated with that. So it's sort of this democratization, if you like, of data or insights input, which is quite important as well. And of course, there are other areas as well. And of course, GenAI is primarily not just about understanding, but of course, it's the generative side of things. And so you can have support in terms of generating those sort of inputs I sort of described as summarizations for things like call follow-ups, for example. It could even be for things like for marketing, for descriptions of products. And more importantly, and maybe more technically, you can use it for generation of code, for example. And more recently, we're seeing examples of generation of configurations for services or for products, for network elements associated with a service type. So it can be quite useful from that perspective. The second area, which is sort of more embedded in terms of GenAI, we're sort of seeing that there are some challenges which operators are facing, and not just operators, but the wider market space. In terms of when you're using GenAI, there are some potential pitfalls which take place, hallucinations, for example, which may be spewing out the wrong sort of information. Those need to have some guidelines and guide rails to prevent those being used ineffectively. And of course, there are things like bias and other things which come in there. So there is some refinement which needs to be done in terms of the models you're using and the outputs which have been done. And this is not necessarily trivial. It essentially costs money to develop those sort of solutions and applications associated with that. And we're seeing a good play for application vendors who are also busy embedding these GenAI capabilities within the applications to make them actually robust, industrialize them, test them, and provide some support and maintenance for those applications, opposed to trying to build them from first principles, which of course is time-consuming, expensive, and potentially brand damaging if done incorrectly. So we sort of see that double jump, a twin peak, if you like, in terms of rollout within the market space. So changing gears a little bit, in terms of, we actually track AI and GenAI activities on a global basis, and have done for a year or two, and just looking at where sort of, this is just essentially activities within the telecoms market space, and we sort of see that there are sort of two peak areas within the globe where this sort of sits. Certainly from an Asia-Pac perspective, both in Asia-Pac and what we could describe as emerging Asia-Pac and developed Asia-Pac regions, there seems to be a high degree of activity associated with that, along with Western Europe. I think there's a couple of reasons for this. Essentially, you've got to bear in mind that any development that goes on in terms of AI or GenAI, and indeed even wider, it's going to be based on the principle of they're going to get some benefit out of dealing with that. And we're seeing that the potential for improvement in processes, and it obviously applies to sort of some of the more maybe laggards in terms of development work that's gone on within some of the markets. And the other factor, of course, is overall cost of cost of staff associated with that as part of the justification. So it's not necessarily a straightforward thing. If some markets have been fairly advanced in the first place, there may be a disincentive, if you like, to actually get busy with AI and GenAI activities. This being said, we're seeing that, and we agree with the statistic which came out of a survey, and we're seeing sort of similar sort of numbers come out of the surveys we're carrying out with CSPs, that the vast majority of CSPs do believe that GenAI will have a profound impact on their operations overall. It's just a little bit a matter of the timing. And of course, we're seeing actually the activity that they're doing. They've already implemented some GenAI, mainly in that first peak, if you like, in terms of use cases in the IT domain specifically, and in coding, which is the key area. So we'll get on to the use case in a second, but there is certainly a wide take-up of GenAI at some level with operators today. And the only other bit to sort of push into this mix, essentially, the TM Forum do have an autonomous networking framework, which is sort of helping summarize a sort of a framework in terms of implementation of AI and GenAI and the use cases associated with that. And all I say is that it's proving to be quite a useful framework, but more importantly, in terms of narrowing down the scenarios in which GenAI can be implemented, is proving to be quite a useful one. And it's based somewhat around the processes, has three dimensions, one of which is sort of a process flow, the second one is a domain, which is basically within the networks, and the third is in terms of services. And just to pick onto that quickly in terms of the next slide, we're sort of seeing GenAI has a potential for being applied to pretty much every kind of use case in one way, shape, or form. We're seeing in terms of the activity at the moment, mainly in that tier one, the first peak, if you like, has been really within customer support, the diagnostic of customer complaints, and customer care sort of chatbots, which have been around for some time in terms of being the key areas. And these are mainly translating customer issues into classified areas and providing some resolution to that. I've already mentioned a little bit the code creation and documentation of that code has been quite a useful area. That's been a very early adopter of GenAI. And finally, I just sort of put in the human resourcing area on the right-hand side in terms of enterprise systems. Of course, the wider your use case, and if it goes beyond telecoms specifically, there is plenty of support for these sort of applications within GenAI, and HR being one of those, where you're supporting, employees within organizations and the HR function in terms of understanding what they could do. So simple knowledge bases, which can be applied to pretty much any industry, are proving to be extremely successful. I'm going to hand over now to MYCOM OSI, and in the form of Keenan, who's going to go through their product set. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Justin. Interesting analytics. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I will do a walkthrough for MYCOM OSI GenAie application and how it will help CSP to address multiple challenges. First of all, I will start with the challenges, and this is a challenge that influenced us while designing the GenAie application. It was collected through our day-to-day activity with most of the tier 1 operators, and mainly these challenges coming from the increasing complexity of the network, coming with all these new layers and new technologies coming. So usually I give an example, like the customer could start his voice over NR call on the 5G SA technology using all the underlying network slicing and ORAN and the cloud infrastructure all together. Then the customer could hand over to a voice over LTE technology over 4G network. Then handing over it to maybe voice over Wi-Fi whenever arrived home to offload over the Wi-Fi, all seamlessly for the user using all of this underlying technologies all together in one call. That's what make mainly the challenges, which we try to categorize it to in 7 type of challenges. And the first one is coming from the challenge of ensuring consistent service quality and reliability across all of these layers in the network. And also, of course, these layers and technology is generating a huge amount of data from signaling, from performance management, from fault management, from log telemetry data, and so on, which is kind of overwhelming data that it's need to be managed and need to be get insight out of it in modern way now. As a third challenge as well, it's coming from this technology is also coming from multiple vendors now, and each vendor has its own way on expressing the assurance and the volume of this data. Plus, whenever there is any problem, the time to resolution becoming more and more higher, and it's require more and more, becoming more and more complicated, like because you need to drill down on all of this type of technology to troubleshoot one call only. Besides the need of the skills and the knowledge to be able to deal with this new type of technologies, which is also emerging very fastly, and it's require a lot of adaptation on the skills inside the CSPs. Now, most of the CSPs took a decision to move toward autonomous network, mainly to overcome these challenges. But autonomous network also it's representing a new challenge for them, where they need advanced tool to lead them toward accurate and reliable, autonomous and self-optimizing network. And on top of all of these challenges, there is also, as usual, the pressure of reducing the cost and maximizing the return of investment. So using these challenges as while we are designing GenAI as influencer, we first of all we found democratizing data is one of the main pillars that it will help to bridge the gap on these challenges. And so we designed GenAie, which is an AI-powered conversational platform, which is designed to transfer this complex telco network and customer data to get out actionable insight out of it to enable strategic decision and monetize operational efficiency. So we have different flavor of the GenAie application. One of the flavor is tailored for the business and executive user, and here where we are, we think the easy access for the data will empower strategic decision and will enable data-driven decision making. That's where the flavor of executive and business user it will help to accelerate and provide the right strategic decision. The second flavor, it's more tailored for the engineers, optimization engineer, assurance engineer, analytics engineer. It would help them in day-to-day activity, in troubleshooting, in root cause analysis, which is enabling the predictive operation. And the third one, which is also try to be aligned with the objective of most of the CSPs now, to move towards the automation. And we designed GenAie to drive the operational efficiency for autonomous network. Now, I want to highlight some of the key features of GenAie, which is, of course, at the beginning, it's enabling the natural language prompt here. So now we are moving from the complex query, from the reporting, from the dashboarding, all of this predefined things now to come to a more natural language prompting and query to extract insight in real time directly from the network, and we call it talk with your network to get information in real time directly. This doesn't mean like you will still not be able to generate your tables, your graphs, your textual summaries, and beside all the natural language commentary coming with it. And also, GenAie will keep enabling you in generating some query or code that you need to save it to run a specific report later on, or do it in different times. The other key feature we have is related to the high scalability and low response latency. So we talk about the data volume and the amount of data processing needed. So we are leveraging some advanced tools like Amazon Bedrock, which has helped us and enabled us to analyze thousands of network entities and services quality indicators simultaneously in near real time. So plus we are enabling, like as a third key features, we are enabling an intuitive user interface, which helps the user to get some predefined and suggested prompts and query. So we designed a library of predefined and optimized queries that we enable quick access to commonly used analysis prompts. And plus, it enables the user to contribute to this library. So if you have a prompt that you want to save it for later, and you see that this is generating some information that you are interested on running it frequently, or you need to share it with the other user, you can contribute to the library and keep it there. So anytime any user can grab it and run it again. And to follow all the operational process and procedure in the CSPs, also we got the feature of alerting, where we enable the alerting to generate trouble tickets and to create reports as well through GenAie, through specific analytics, which can be generated through scheduling and customized. Like you have the ability as a key feature to schedule a prompt and ensure like the report is generated or the prompt generating an output every frequency, so it gives you the relevant insight on time. Now with the capability of the LLM now, also we provided a feature where it's assure persistent user session. So we retain the dialogues information or the conversation with the LLM. So whenever the user accesses again, it will do a continuation of what it was discussing before. So that will enable continuity in your analytics and your insight trying to get it. And to accommodate diverse user base, we are supporting the multiple languages and the voice recognition in multiple languages as well as a key feature. Wanted to highlight also our GenAie application key differentiator. So we in MYCOM, we believe always that the data is like it's taking out of 80% of the accuracy of the output. So the cleaner data you get to as an input for GenAie, the better output you get. So So we enabled, and based on our expertise in the data analysis previously, so we enabled GenAie to consume always a prepared data where it's a cleaned and structured data already. So it's enable better accuracy and less hallucination when you have more architect and relevant data. Plus, this data, it could have more information whenever it's flattened and correlated based on topology or based on a specific correlation enrichment data. So providing flattened and correlated data as well, it's enable more insights and easier access and more accurate access to the data and the information. Our third differentiator here, and as I said, because we are using advanced tool like Bedrock from Amazon, we have like a scalable and secure architecture. So we support, of course, the high scalability, process fast data set in real time, and beside ensuring secure operation with robust data protection and compliancy measure. Our fourth differentiator is related to what we discussed as a features that you have already optimized and prepackaged prompt as part of GenAie, that it will help the user to easily access to the data. And as a fifth differentiator here, where we are trying to optimize our LLMs to specific user needs. So to guarantee the LLM precision, so we are optimizing our LLMs to be tailored LLM for a domain specific, and it's optimized, and the output is optimized with minimum hallucination using multiple adaptive tuning mechanisms. So by this, I finished. I will hand it over to my colleague Sami. He will show you a detailed demo on GenAie application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kenan, for this overview of GenAie. Welcome everyone to this demo. I will start switching to the demo environment. Okay, so in this demo, I will take the role of the CNO of a mobile network. As a CNO, my mission is to ensure very good service quality, but in the meantime, need to maximize revenues. Today, as you can see in this dashboard, we are focusing on London, our top revenue generating city, and we are looking at the utilization in London 4G and 5G. And we are observing an important part of London 4G network operating with high utilization. You can see 8,000 cells exceeding 80% capacity. To address this challenge, we are going to use GenAie to explore and analyze network financial performance, linking revenue outcomes to utilization patterns that we can observe here into the dashboard, and identifying opportunities for improvement. So let's start now with GenAie. You will see now the first prompt with a summary of the daily revenue for voice and data services. So you can see the first prompt and the outcome from GenAie. Again, as mentioned by Kenan, we are integrating to AWS Bedrock and to a selected LLM to get this response. So you can see the first response from 14th of November. The 4G network is generating $2 million for voice services and approximately 21 million for data services, showcasing their critical financial contribution. However, there is still unused potential within the network. So let's explore how to optimize the free capacity and add some additional growth on the revenues through a second prompt. Coming now. So we are looking at the potential revenue growth from the free network capacity. So you see the outcome. There is a potential revenue growth of $18 million approximately, revealing significant untapped opportunities. To unlock this value, we need, in the next prompt, to prioritize the cities with the highest revenue contribution. So in the next prompt, let's have a look to the projected revenue per city to identify where we should concentrate our optimization to have the greatest impact. So this is the purpose of the next prompt, looking at the ranking of the cities when it comes to revenues. The outcome from GenAie, from the LLM, you can see the ranking. And you can see that London tops the list with $8 million in expected revenue, confirming its critical role in our financial performance. Given its importance, we need now to focus on London area, especially on network utilization, to identify some patterns impacting service quality and revenues. So again, this is the purpose of the next prompt, concentrating on more information about utilization in London. Again, the query and the outcome. So if you want to take a few seconds to look at the outcome, as a summary, you can see London on the 4G has a total number of 53,000 cells with an average utilization of 46%. But in the meantime, in London, we have 8,788 cells above the 80% utilization with an average of 91%. So it's highlighting potential congestion areas. So next step should be, is this utilization impacting the service quality? And as an example, we can try to understand if there is any correlation between utilization and downlink throughput as an experience for the end users. So you have seen the prompt to determine any correlation, and the outcome is showing a negative correlation between utilization and throughput. High utilization cells have an average throughput only 9 megabits per second, when for the, I will say, global city of London, the average throughput is 23 megabits per second. So definitely, congestion is impacting service quality, as we can see with the impact on the downlink throughput. So now let's quantify also the impact on the revenues and how we can improve service quality and revenues within those high utilization cells. So this is the purpose of the next prompt. Linking, I will say, revenues to those high utilization cells. So again, I let you a few seconds to look at the prompt and the outcome, but the information that we are retrieving is that high utilization cells, the 8,000 that we have seen before, they are generating $1.4 million approximately, but we can see that by improving the throughput to the citywide average, we could add $2 million, $2.2 million, which is more than doubling their contribution. So now we should ask the GenAie through Bedrock and the LLM, what are the strategies we can, we can implement to achieve those improvements in terms of revenue, we have seen, but also some revenues on service quality. So this is the purpose of the last prompt, trying to determine what are the areas of improvement. So you can see the outcome, which is pretty detailed. So GenAie recommends different strategies to improve the throughput, including network optimization, capacity enhancement, traffic management, and the use of advanced technologies like MIMO and beamforming. As we have seen before, this improvement could unlock $2.25 million revenue boost. But in the meantime, it will enhance the service quality for the customer because we have seen it's improving, as an example, the downlink throughput. So in summary, the targeted optimization that we have seen can address utilization challenge, enhance the service quality, and unlock significant revenues, as we have seen as part of the demo. With GenAie and this presentation demonstration, you have seen also that we can quickly explore and analyze the data, connecting different type of data from performance KPIs, but also together with business outcomes. And at the end, to be able to take some the right actions, I would say, to go to some success. Thank you for this demo, and Vijay, floor is yours.
Thank you, Sami. That was a super impressive demo, and as always, great work from the MYCOM OSI team.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vijay Vaglam. I'm a senior solution architect in AWS for telecom solutions. So what you just saw, an impressive demo, was built as Sami mentioned several times using Amazon generative AI stack. So let me dive deep on into the 3-layered stack here. On the bottom, you see the infrastructure, and in the middle there are tools to build LLMs, and then the top you have applications. So let me kind of dive deep on an infrastructure. So first of all, AWS provides the broad and deep capabilities that you need to build generative AI applications securely and responsibly. So looking at, for example, the GPUs and the Trainium and Inferentia there, those were built using almost 10 years, more than 10 years of AWS's experience in building custom silicon, because they are purpose-built and they are for ML, AI, and generative AI workloads. And they provide performant and cost-effective infrastructure. For example, for training and through Trainium, as well as hosting your AI/ML endpoints, including the FM foundation model endpoints on Inferentia for inferencing. So in addition to being cost-effective and performant compute, you also have access to the most advanced virtualization, powerful petabyte scale networking capabilities, as well as hyperscale clustering on Amazon to help build those scalable applications. So that's the bottom layer, right? So to go along with the infrastructure, you also need tools to actually build the LLM. And that's where Amazon Bedrock comes in. It helps you build generative AI applications easily. When I say easily, it's essentially Amazon Bedrock is a managed service. And it's as easy as 4 lines of code. So you could actually make a simple API call and then get access to a wide range of foundation models through AWS partners like AI21 Labs, Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, Stability, etc. Because each of them bring some unique strengths. So gone are those days where we can rely on one model. So we need different models, and you need different models to solve different use cases. So let me kind of dive a little more on Amazon Bedrock features. One of the most important ones that probably you want to take away from today's presentation is guardrails. Guardrails, as the name suggests, is an Amazon Bedrock feature to implement safeguards for your application. For example, you want to filter out hallucination by looking at the relevance of the model responses or the groundedness, whether it was creatively created or far from the truth. You can set up some guardrails to filter out such hallucinations. Again, it's all a low-code, no-code solution where you can just fill it in the UI. You can also detect personally identifiable information, both in the prompts, user inputs, as well as the responses from the LLM. So it is a very important feature. The guardrails is a very important feature to build trustworthy generative AI applications. Let me talk on to the next one, which is agents. Fascinating feature again from Amazon Bedrock. It lets you harness the foundation model's reasoning skills. What do I mean by that? For example, if you simply state your problem to the LLM, saying, help me assess the service impact of this outage, then the agent of this Bedrock can tap into the reasoning skills of the foundation model and come up with a sequence of tasks to figure out what would that mean. For example, if it's a radio access network, it would know that it needs to look for RRC users on the base station and then understand the impact. If it's IMS network, then it knows to use some metrics like VoLTE calls, etc., and use that as a way to communicate the service impact. And if it's above certain thresholds, then it can also trigger either incident creation or notification to something. So all of this done magically through Bedrock agents. Really fascinating features that provide, and all of this are provided through kind of high levels of security, and it's private to your account. So none of the prompts that you send to or shared with the LLM vendors, they're all within your account. And so on. So there's so many there. I just want to highlight maybe one more thing in the top layer of the stack. Amazon Q, for example, is your expert assistant. So if you want to build something on AWS, Amazon is already using generative AI to build generative AI applications. So the Amazon Q, for example, is trained on 17 years of experience of AWS knowledge, and it can answer any questions on how do you build a Lambda function, to how to build a generative AI application, and get timely and accurate information. Very useful, very pertinent to the developers or builders to improve their productivity and build the generative applications quickly. All right, now want to dig deeper on a couple of the features of, for example, the differentiators for the AWS Silicon that I talked about earlier, like Inferentia and Trainium. The three things that I want to highlight: one is a lower total cost of ownership. So we benchmarked against different compute, and we find that the AWS Silicon can reduce the cost by up to 50%. And also it is better performance, both from a throughput and latency perspective, up to like 40% compared to the other EC2 instances. And as well as they consume less power, up to 50% again per watt, compared to the other instances. So there's good benefits from a cost and as well as performance perspective from AWS custom built silicon. One of the other differentiator is a Bedrock, and as I mentioned, Bedrock enables you to easily build the generative AI applications, but it also gives you a quick access to many of the leading foundation models in the market, right? And that helps you evaluate different models for your use cases and choose the best one. And you can also customize your models through Bedrock. Again, it provides a user interface as part of the Amazon AWS console, and you can click and drag and just basically build the applications very quickly. For example, you can onboard your knowledge base of your organization and in few steps. And then, of course, leverage the agentic workflows that's provided by Amazon Bedrock to execute the previous example that I was saying, multi-step tasks. So where you can orchestrate one problem statement into a sequence of steps and then fulfill that. All of this through secure, private, and safe solution, meaning the 8 dimensions that Amazon believes in from a responsibility AI are all fulfilled through Amazon Bedrock. All right. I want to highlight another differentiator through the SageMaker portfolio or suite of tools. As you may know, Amazon SageMaker is the interactive development environment where data scientists, business analysts, all of them could build AI ML solutions. And but Jumpstart, however, provides you a repository, a hub. It's a hub of already pre-built algorithms and pre-built ML solutions that you can download and customize for your needs and get a head start. It has a intuitive user interface. It has already pre-built training scripts and also example notebooks that you can just quickly use them, share them, collaborate with your teams for higher productivity. All right. So with that, I come to the end of my session. Please stay tuned for next week. There's AWS reInvent, and back to you, Jack.
Thanks very much, Vijay, and thank you to all the presenters that are presented. It's question and answer time, and we've had some questions come through. I'll start. Here we go. The question from Sina. So thank you for your presentations and a great demo. Is there a chance for academic users to have a link or a membership for more comprehensive demo to explore the product further? Keenan, I'm going to field this one to you.
Yeah, specifically on GenAie, yeah, it's something applicable. We can publish something later on for academic user to be able to play a little bit with the demo. Yeah.
We'll send a follow-up email out tomorrow to everyone who's attended, and you can respond to us through there. So I'm sure we can link you up. That's no problem. Thank you for your question. Let's have a look for another one. I'll click finish there. Okay, this one, I'm going to direct this one to you, Sammy. So does GenAie provide any highly utilized cells which are good for spectrum refarming, or which one is good for any other recommendation in that list if we proceed with a further prompt?
Yeah, I mean, you can drill down within the prompt. So from the list of high utilization cell and from the list of recommendations, then you can ask GenAie to categorize, I would say, which high utilization cell is good for this recommendation on this other one. So you can make this split and categorization. Yes, it's achievable through additional prompt and drill down. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much. We had a few that came through at the start as well. Vijay, I've got one for you here. Can the guardrail you mentioned evaluate both the inputs or the prompts and responses?
Yeah, guardrails does both. You can configure to guardrails to evaluate the prompts that are being sent, so you can avoid some of the prompt injection attacks, etc. And also evaluate any personally identifiable information within the prompt, and you can exclude that or mask it or convert that into another entity, encrypted entity, and then pass it to LLM. And then when you get the response back, guardrails again looks for hallucination detection from groundedness and etc. So yes, it does both on the inputs as well as on the output from the LLMs.
Excellent, thank you. One more question. This one will be for you, Keenan. So how does generative AI improve collaboration between technical teams and business execs?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Now, and this is the main objective of our business flavor, where it's enable like the executive and to get insight in human language, right? Which is enables them to speak the same language with another technical team, enabling more and more collaboration between the high level executive and C levels and the engineers themselves, so they can speak now with the same language, and they can get insight fastly and with multiple aspects.
Thank you very much. If anyone has any further questions, pop them in now. If not, we will progress to the next slide. I've also got one final call to action. I'll pop that up on screen. That's just a link to MYCOM OSI's AI analytics page. Please do give that a look. And on screen as well, you've got a few QR codes to our page. If you want to email us, info@mycomosi.com. But as I said, we'll send a follow-up email to you all tomorrow to say thanks for attending. And if, like the person that was after a bit of academic link up in terms of GenAie, we can follow up that way. But I think if there's no more questions, oh no, we've got one more question. Can we bring that one up on screen, moderator? So This could be open to any of you four, really. Do you think it's realistic for 2025 that agent systems will autonomously execute actions that have the direct impact on the network?
Yeah, I can take that, Jack.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if I think you're referring to the Bedrock agents comment that I made, and if it is, yes, definitely we've some very promising initial results already, and I think you will hear more next week again at reInvent on newer capabilities on how the Bedrock agents, for example, can read a single problem statement and come up with the sequence of tasks. We do need, as you heard from in the initial part of the conversation, around arranging the data in a way that can be understood to orchestrate different actions. Could be a critical one for us to improve the accuracy. But yes, definitely looks promising.
Cool. Thank you very much, Vijay. Well, we're bang on time here. So I think with that, thank you once again to all our presenters. Thank you very much to our audience that's attended, and we will say farewell for this, well, in England at least, cold, dark evening. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.